दर्शकहरू हामी 18औं सार्क शिखर सम्मेलन विशेषमा छौं र तपाईलाई यति बेला जोडिरहेका छौं। काठमाडौँमा जसरी 18औं सार्क शिखर सम्मेलनको उद्घाटन भइसकेको छ र यति बेला सार्क सम्मेलनले जोडेका र तय गरेका विषयवस्तुहरू कसरी यसको प्रभावकारी कार्यान्वयनमा जोड दिन सकिन्छ वा कस्ता कस्ता विषयमा विशेष गरेर सार्कले सम्बोधन गर्नुपर्छ भन्ने विषयमा हामी निरन्तर तपाईसँग जोडिरहेका छौं र यति बेला हामीसँग हुनुहुन्छ डाक्टर असीम श्रीवास्तव जो वातावरणीय अर्थविज्ञमा दखल पनि राख्नुहुन्छ। सर, वेलकम टु न्यूज 24।
Thank you.
How do you feel at Kathmandu in the time of 18th SAARC summit?
It's very nice. I've been here before. I always enjoy visiting Nepal. I'm not officially here for the SAARC summit, but it's very impressive, the preparations that have been made.
In the time of opening ceremony, we heard the speech of the government, head of the state and head of the government. And mainly they focus on the general issues which are followed by in the previous summit and continue in this summit too. But the main problem of SAARC is addressing each and every issue but not implementing is one also. How you analyze it?
Well, as I said, I've not been here, I've not been invited here for the SAARC summit. I'm not qualified to speak about it. But the general problem is whenever you deal government to government and in multilateral forums, the general problem seems to be a lack of direct communication between peoples, and government bureaucracies seem to come in the middle and slow down the process of good communication. And then in turn that means slow implementation, and on the ground you don't see the results of the summit.
So normally we are facing the same problem in the time of establishment of this SAARC, mainly poverty, malnutrition, health problem. Isn't every problem are continually followed by the SAARC region countries? But haven't any specialized solution is not identified yet. What are the main problems not being achievements in a successful way?
Well, I mean, I think the region needs to come up with an alternative way to conduct human affairs, I would say, which means principally today coming up with a different approach to the economy, which in turn would lead to trade agreements, environmental agreements very importantly, and so on. So there needs to be a common approach, a shared approach, and which is unique to this part of the world, because each part of the world is different, and we somehow have this mechanical notion in our parts of the world that the answers have been figured out by the Western world. We just have to emulate and implement. And unfortunately, a lot of the bad thinking has emerged exactly from that kind of tradition. So we need to develop more confidence in ourselves to come up with our own approaches from where our own solutions will come. For that, we need to learn each other's languages. We need to be more respectful of our neighbors. We need to stop thinking that the grass is greener on some other continent. All the answers that this part of the world needs are actually here. I'm an environmental economist. I'm not a political expert. So I will say something about paying attention to the ecology of the subcontinent, and the fact that there's a large number of ecological issues which cross national boundaries, which do not respect this European idea of nation states. I mean, why do we so slavishly accept the Western model of nation states? Why can't we reorganize the region with greater confidence and courage according to what our needs are? And by our needs, I mean ecological needs principally, which includes the needs of healthy, decent, civilized survival. It also means respect for nature, a respect which the Western world has not had. Certainly not for the nature of other continents. They've plundered other continents in order to enrich themselves. We don't have the courage to say this to them. We don't have the courage to develop an independent vision. So I'm afraid the record is not very good, at least since the days of Nehru. The record is rather poor when it comes to evolving our own ways of thinking, our own autonomous vision. We need to think for ourselves. There's no lazy way out of this.
So, along with this all, I want to add you more that lastly, we are mainly facing the problems of climate change, and in the South Asian regions, there are more incidents of natural disaster. What will be the option for the common solution to prevent from the natural disaster and to minimize the victimize of the natural disasters?
Do the Himalayas belong to Nepal?
No, overall in the...
Or does Nepal belong to the Himalayas? My question is not rhetorical. My point is that the way in which we see things, we think that nature is just natural resources and it belongs to human beings, human societies, either this society or this individual or that corporation. But it's not like that. We belong to the region, we belong to the nature of that region. Now, when you look at this region, you see the importance and centrality of the Himalayas. The Himalayas have a massive, massive ecological impact on the entire subcontinent, okay, from Nepal and India and Pakistan to Bangladesh and Bhutan and so on. There needs to be a common approach. There needs to be an understanding of Himalayan ecology. I'm afraid that understanding is not reflected in what our leaders say, certainly in public. It needs to have an understanding of that region to evolve a set of economic policies which would be consistent with that ecology. You can't be mining resources at this rate and expect that the Himalayas are not going to revolt. Sooner or later they do, and in Uttarakhand we saw that last year.
Do you think these major problems are being a shadow of the consultation? Do you think? In the SAARC agenda, these common problems are being shadows. Mainly, we just focus on the poverty or political insularization is addressing in the SAARC summit, and they give a precious speech. But these problems of climate change, natural disasters, are just we are facing problems. These are being shadows. Do you agree, or do you think so?
Are they being addressed or not? Is that your question?
Yeah, my question is that there are not raises such as issues. These issues are not raised.
Yeah, they're not. I'm not sure if they're being raised, and if they're being raised, whether they're being raised in the proper way. And if they're not being raised in the proper way, you will not come up with answers which can be implemented. There needs to be better grounding of the approaches, for which you need to consult local communities. You need to speak to ordinary people. Just talking leader to leader is not going to help.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, my pleasure.
दर्शकहरू, हामी निरन्तर यस विषयमा कुरा गरिरहेका छौँ र उहाँ हुनुहुन्थ्यो भारतबाट प्रतिनिधित्व गर्दै डाक्टर असीम श्रीवास्तव, जसले वातावरणीय अर्थविज्ञानमा विशेष दखल राख्नुहुन्छ।